who we both liked coming into the year. You a little bit more than me, but they beat the Rams a couple weeks ago in Carolina. But now they are 10.5 point dogs at home in the wild card round as we start previewing the wild card weekend.
I will tell you this. I don't think there's a bad game at all in these wild card rounds.
No, I think there's a scenario where we get multiple 3-4 upsets, and I'm not just talking about by the spread.
I could see it, but I don't think you're going to see a blowout in any of these games. I really don't. As for some reason, my logo just popped up on the screen there.
I just turned off my camera for 1 second.
Okay. I think almost all of these games are going to be one possession down to the final drive. Like, it could be maybe you get something with the refs, or like, this team needs a game time touchdown or a game time field goal. I really think it could come down to that. But in terms of this game, yeah, that has to give the Panthers a boatload of confidence. The fact that they already beat the Rams. Yes, it was rainy conditions, and Matt Stafford definitely was off. But still, you have to give the Panthers credit for winning that game. It's not like they just flukes their way into it.
I agree, even though they do have a worse point differential this year than the New York Giants. They've been a very good underdog team. I think it's way too many points. I think that the Rams' biggest weakness is corner, and the Panthers' biggest strength is they have big wide receivers. Now, Bryce Young in his first playoff game, I'm worried about. I don't think he's going to play great, but I do think that Carolina could potentially give the Rams a better game than most people think.
If I'm the Panthers, I'm running the heck out of the ball.
See, if I'm the Panthers, I'm throwing the heck out of the ball because I'm going to throw to win. I'm going to force the Rams to create light boxes, and then I'm going to start banging away with Rico Dotto and Chuba Hubbard. But you have to establish that Bryce Young can beat you. Because if you don't do that, then they're just going to load the box all game.
No, your point is totally valid. But by the same token, if you're able to run the ball early with Rico and Chuba Hubbard, that will bring the defense, more down, and that opens up the middle of the field for guys like Ted McMillan and some of their tight ends, and that could open up the passing game for Bryce Young.
I am a little worried about the fact the Rams Stafford did not play well in that game. What was it, 4 or 5 weeks ago? And they still almost won. Like, I think the Rams are going to come in looking for revenge.
It's interesting that the Rams lost both of their road games against the NFC South.
Well, it's also interesting that the Rams in 1 week time went from the 1 seed, and there's no way they can win the 1 seed, and they were almost the 6 seed, and they did not play well against Arizona.
No, they didn't. But at the same time, I do think now that Puka Nacua is back, that definitely takes a lot of the pressure off of Devontae Adams.
It's the opposite. Devontae Adams has been the one hurt.
Yeah, you're right. But you're 100% right. But we'll see. Is Devontae expected to be back for this game?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay. So that should help with the Rams passing game. But I just wonder about the Rams running game. It's been very on and off.
And they're going up against Derek Brown and that big Carolina front.
Yeah.
I think the Panthers can give the Rams a game, but this would be the one game that I think if the Panthers do win, I would be surprised.
No, I understand that. It would, but for me, it would not surprise me if Carolina won. But like I said, I think this game's going to come down to a field goal or, a dropped pass on a third down, something like that.
Well, this next game that's going to take place on Amazon Prime Saturday night. The line, I don't know. The Bears are dogs by 1.5 when the Packers have not won a game in a month. Yeah, you could make an argument the Packers should have beat the Bears in Chicago if it wasn't for that crazy onside kick the Bears got, followed by that awesome throw in overtime by Caleb to DJ Moore. I looked at this game, Josh. I'm telling you, I have no idea who's going to win this game.
I'm a
I
little
would
bit disappointed that
go ahead.
Burkhardt and Brady aren't calling this game for round 3 because I thought the first 2 games when they were on the call, they did a fantastic job. In my opinion, those were Brady's best 2 games of the season.
For sure. Yeah, no, I agree. Um, Listen, I'm a little bit worried about how Caleb's going to play in his first playoff game. Being at home, I think there's a lot of pressure in that spot. Jordan Love has had a month off to rest. There could be a little bit of rust there. These two teams match up very evenly against each other. I just don't know, man. The fact I can't get over the fact that the Bears are 1.5 point dogs. That to me means that Vegas thinks the Packers are the better team. And based off the way these two teams have played, Green Bay has arguably outplayed Chicago for 8 of the 9 quarters that they have played.
What scares me, and they talked about this a lot on the Sunday night broadcast for the Bears 49ers game, the Bears don't generate a lot of pressure on the quarterback.
Yep.
They rely heavily on turnovers. So, and I think that's why the 49ers had a lot of success, because they really ran the ball effectively with Christian McCaffrey, with Brock Purdy. So I think if the Packers can establish the run game early, kind of like what I was just saying with the Panthers in that regard, but if the Packers can establish that run game early with Josh Jacobs and to a lesser extent Jordan Love, I think that's where they would have success because you're not allowing the Bears to really force turnovers. You're keeping Caleb Williams and that Bears Bears offense rather, on the sidelines. You're not putting your defense, which is now, I would say, suspect, in a position to where they have to make plays. You're controlling the game. You're keeping it low scoring. I think that's the formula Green Bay has to rely on.
Yeah, I think for the Bears, they have to get off to a hot start. They have to get the lead early. They have to get the crowd into it. They have to get Caleb Williams' confidence is going. Because if Green Bay gets the ball and marches down to that first possession and scores, it's going to be uh-oh.
Oh, I agree with you. I think it's critical that Chicago gets off to a hot start.
Like, if I'm the Bears, I think you make the argument if you win the toss and teams rarely do this. If I'm the Bears, I think I take the ball.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I was thinking the exact same thing in this particular case.
Like, I think that this is a rare game where you play a division rival 3 times. And by the way, 3 times in the last, 6, 7 weeks. So these two teams are going to be very familiar with each other. I think it's going to come down to a bounce. It's going to come down to who can execute better. And I do think the experience factor in that regard does go to Green Bay.
I will say the NFL is much better when the Bears-Packers rivalry actually means something.
And the one good thing is it looks like it's going to mean something for a long time.
Yes. I think Ben Johnson has absolutely been the perfect hire for Chicago. He's unlocked something with Caleb. And, we were talking about whether Matt LaFleur was going to be on the hot seat.
Which reportedly he is, by the way, which I don't understand that at all. But the reports are saying if Green Bay loses, he could be out.
That would be an interesting monkey wrench in this whole thing. But, which I do understand that. But at the same, because go back to like the Monday night game. against Philadelphia. What was the final score? Like
10
10-7?
to 3 or 10
10
to 7. Yeah.
10-3, 10-7, something like that. Um, like the offense couldn't.
Jordan Love has not played well since week 2.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting you bring that up because like I was at the game in Cleveland in week 3. He really lost that game for the Packers down the
Yep.
stretch.
And he was my favorite to win MVP going into the season. And by the way, Green Bay didn't even make it with 10 wins. We both thought they were going to win 12, 13 games. They won 9.
Yeah. Um, and they love being the number 7 seed. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Let's go now to the Sunday games. Let's go to the AFC side.
This is the game I'm most excited about.
And by the way, this is my favorite pick of the week. I'm telling you right now, the Jags are going to beat the Bills.
I actually thought we were going to disagree with them about this. I'm genuinely surprised to hear you say that. But you know, everybody's saying, "Oh, this is Buffalo's best opportunity to go win a Super Bowl." No Lamar, no Burrow, no Mahomes. Hello. Have you not seen how well Trevor Lawrence has been playing lately?
So here's my a little bit of a hot take I'm starting to cook up. Jacksonville representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. I think they're that good.
Could you imagine, theoretically, a Jacksonville Chicago Super Bowl?
I think the NFL would have to be on suicide watch. But I mean, it's the NFL. Anything can happen. And Liam Cohen, not a lot of people knew who this guy was 2 years ago when he became the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He has single-handedly not only turned around Trevor Lawrence, but he makes that deal that the Jaguars made with the Browns, where the Browns fans were so excited because they got an extra first-round pick. Now it could be in the 30s.
Yeah. And for that matter, Travis Hunter hasn't really been healthy all season.
No.
And you know, you and I remember post-trade deadline, we were arguing about what was the biggest trade. I don't think either of us even mentioned Jacoby Myers to
And
Jack.
by the way, the minute he showed up, that offense, as you said earlier with your Browns fandom, I went like this. The Jaguars offense went like this.
Yes.
The minute he showed up.
Yes. Because I remember I said Rashid Shaheed to the Seahawks was the biggest trade. I don't remember what you said was the biggest
I
trade.
said Jaden Phillips for the Eagles on the defensive line.
Okay. But that's my point. Neither of us said Jacoby Myers. We might have mentioned it briefly, but I did not think he would have this big of an impact.
By the way, it's not only him. All of a sudden, Parker Washington has become a legit number 1 receiver.
Oh, yeah. I went back and watched that game between the Jaguars and Broncos. That first touchdown pass Trevor threw to Parker Washington was beautiful.
Trevor Lawrence is playing right now the best he's ever had in his career. And that dates all the way back, in my opinion, even in college, when he was this phenom at freshman at Clemson, when they defeated Alabama in that national championship. I think Trevor Lawrence right now is arguably playing like a top 3-4 quarterback in the entire NFL.
Yeah. I think if he had been playing like this, like throughout the season, he would be more so in the MVP conversation.
Oh, I completely agree. And I think we are looking at a Bills team who by Monday morning or Tuesday morning will be announcing that they will be looking for a new head coach. And I think I mentioned John Harbaugh earlier. I think John Harbaugh could be the Bills' new head coach next year. I would go in offensive mind with Josh Allen, but I think a lot like Baltimore, I think they just need a new voice. I don't trust the Bills. The Jaguars, I believe, are 5th in the NFL against the pass. Buffalo should be able to run the football with James Cook, but we all know they won't stick to that run. And for some reason, when push comes to shove in the playoffs, they always want to go Superman with Josh Allen, and I think that they're going to be in for a culture shock.
Yeah.
I think they're going to walk in thinking, oh, it's the Jags. They're not really that good, right? We can take care of them. And all of a sudden, when they blink and they're down, let's say 10-0 early, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. I also think that maybe there's a bit of a psychological advantage for Jacksonville, and here's what I mean. I know it's 7 years ago, and a lot of Buffalo's roster is different, but Sean McDermott was there. Josh Allen was there. Um, remember what happened in 2017?
That was the Blake Bortles versus Tyrod Taylor game, right?
I thought Josh Allen was still. Oh no, Josh Allen came in
the year after.
You're right. You're right. So maybe it's not as much of a psychological advantage as I thought. But so
they killed Buffalo, didn't they?
I thought it was a close, like 10-7 type game.
I did not think so. I thought Jacksonville ran them over. Maybe I'm misremembering it.
Hang on.
The AFC wild card.
10-3.
Yeah, 10-3. You're right.
Okay. So, but I know it's completely two different teams, but Jacksonville still might have that bit of a mental advantage.
Especially for Buffalo, who's so used to that snow. Now they got to go down to that hot Jacksonville heat.
Yeah. Although after this season, I think they're going to be playing in Orlando maybe next year.
I didn't hear about that.
Because their stadium's undergoing massive renovations.
So, but you and I both agree. I think the Jags win this game.
I do too. I think this is going to be the best game of Wild Card Weekend, though. I really do.
Well, I'm biased about the next game. I think it's going to be the best game of Wild Card Weekend. At least I hope it is, and I'm on the right side of it because it is the last 3 representatives for the NFC in the Super Bowl. 57 Eagles, 58 Niners, 59 Eagles. We know the hatred these two teams have over the 2022 NFC Championship game. And now they match up in the wild card round. And there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, the Eagles should have tried to get the number 2 seed and played the Green Bay Packers. I was perfectly okay with resting our starters, going in as the 3 seed, because I actually think going up against San Francisco for the wild card round could be a better matchup for us because the Niners don't have a pass rush. Their defensive line is devastated by injury, and I think my defense is a Super Bowl caliber defense. And as long as Jalen Hurts does not turn the football over, I think we're going to win this game.
And think about this. San Francisco played on Saturday night, and they have to travel cross country to play in Philadelphia. I think that's also an advantage for the Eagles.
And by the way, the offense has not played well nearly all season. I mean, we did not complete a pass in the second half against the Buffalo Bills, and we won the game.
Yeah. Yeah, your offense looked anemic for the most part in that game against Buffalo, but if Josh Allen completes that 2-point conversion, we might be having a different discussion, but I digress.
I keep saying, man, I think these Eagles are like the 2023 and 2024 Chiefs, where you think of them as an offensive team, but really, because they have an offensive-minded coach, they have a great quarterback, they have great weapons, but really, they're led by their defense.
And all you really have to do to shut down San Francisco is stop Christian McCaffrey, but that's easier said than done.
Well, but who has the personnel to do that? Philadelphia does. We have the best combination, I believe, of defensive tackles in the league in Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. And since the addition of Jalen Phillips, the Eagles have had the best defense in the NFL, and it's not even close based off the stats. They're first in every category.
Now, to be fair, Brock Purdy, I should say, also went nuts in that Chicago game. I think he
did, but then how do you work against the Seahawks? Not good.
Yes. And Philadelphia's defense is more comparable to Seattle's rather than Chicago's. So we'll see if he's able to put on a Chicago-type performance. But, for Philadelphia, they got to establish Saquon early. And not just Saquon. I think Tank Bigsby, your backup running back, also has to be a factor in this game.
I
Not
agree. I also think AJ Brown needs to touch the ball early. I think Devontae Smith needs to touch the ball early. Dallas Goddard needs to touch the ball early. It's going to be on Kevin Patullo to get these guys the ball, get them happy, get them involved, get this offense going. Because I think once the Eagles get the lead on this Niners team and you force the Niners to throw more, that's when this game will turn it into the Eagles' favor.
and to harken back to what I said with the Rams Panthers game, if you're able to establish the run early, that brings the safeties and some of the defensive backs down into the box, and that opens up the field for guys like Dallas Goddard, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, because they're so worried about Saquon going off. They're so worried about Tank Bigsby ripping off a big run. Um, so in that sense, that's why I'm saying I think Philadelphia needs to establish the run early.
The goal is going to be to tire out the Niners defensive line because they don't have a lot of guys left that are playing on defense.
Yeah, Fred Warner is out. Nick Bosa is out. Bethune, the guy who is replacing Fred Warner,
Yep.
is out. So, it's definitely an advantage for Philadelphia. But again, I said it when we were talking about the Browns. Shanahan has done a great job coaching this team with all the injuries. They were on the doorstep of possibly getting the number 1 seed and
But
not
it
have.
could be just like the Vikings a year ago, right? They were just on the doorstep of being the number one seed, and boom, 2 weeks later, they're out of the playoffs.
Yes. No, you're 100% right, and that's with to bring that point up. I totally agree with you.
And Vic Fangio has seen a lot of these Kyle Shanahan offenses, and he's had success against them in his career. That's why I get it. It would have been desirable to be the 2 seed. You play a Packers team that you match up well against, and you get a guaranteed second home game. But the Eagles looked at it like they needed a bye. They needed to get their players rest. They didn't really care about the 2 or the 3 seed because they liked their matchup with San Francisco. And they said, we'll take our chances, either having to go to Chicago or then we get a home game against the Rams or the Panthers. And Packers Bears is not a walk in the park for Chicago either.
No, you're right about that. Um, but by the same token, how did you? Yes, like it was more likely than not Detroit was going to beat Chicago, but you also don't want Jalen Hurts to, lose his rhythm with Devontae, with AJ. So,
Last year they did the same thing in week 18. Remember, Jalen didn't even play week 17. Remember, he got hurt in the week 16 game against Washington. So actually, the last time he really played a full game was week 15 before the playoff game against Green Bay.
and I thought in the playoff game against Green Bay, it took him a little bit to get into the flow of the game. I don't think he was great right away.
No, but again, he didn't have to because they had such a great defense, and that's what they're betting on this year.
And by the way, I'm not trying to take anything away from that defense by saying what I'm saying, but I think that defense can only get you so far.
Well, we'll see because there's only 4 games potentially left in the season. I think if you're not scoring consistently, you can only ask the defense to get so many stops. But if this team gets to 17 points, I think that should be enough.
Yeah, but you look at some of these offenses you might have to go against, like a Chicago, like maybe a Seattle, the Rams.
I'll take my chances with Sam Darnold. I will take my chance with Sam Darnold. The Rams are the team that scares me. I've said it all year. I've told you that all year. The one team I did not want to play is the Rams.
Fair enough. I think if Brock Purdy might be able to give you some trouble because of his ability to move and make plays, unscripted. he's not Mahomes. I'm not trying to say that, but his ability to make those unscripted plays, yes, your defense is great. I'm not trying to say they're not, but Purdy's off schedule ability could give you issues.
I think we win the game. I think it's close. I think it's like 21-17. I'm not even sure we cover the 4.5, but I do think that we do win the game.
I I do think Philly wins. I don't think it'll be. I think it'll be closer than the 4.5 spread.
Well, this is the one, Josh. This may shock you. This is the one I'm calling upset on. I like
Really?
I like the Chargers here. Everybody loves New England. The Chargers have the 31st run block and 32nd pass blocking offensive line in the NFL. I get it. But to me, I'm just going to take Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert against Drake May in his first playoff game.
Okay. No, that's fair. Um, and I do think Drake May is the MVP favorite now.
I agree. But here's my concern with the Patriots for this game. First of all, is Stephon Diggs even going to play with all of his legal issues? Because the one thing that New England banks on are big plays over the top. What do the Chargers not give up? Big plays over the top. What are the Chargers bad at? Offensive line protection. What is New England not great at on defense? Getting after the passer. They're 23rd in pressure rate. That's where I think Justin Herbert's going to be comfortable, and I think it's a bad matchup for New England.
See, I think this is a matchup where both teams wanted it. I think that's the reason why the Chargers rested Herbert and some of their other guys against the Broncos. And I think that's why New England played their guys, even though they knew it was more likely than not Denver was going to win. Um, because I think both teams see this as a favorable matchup for them.
I agree, and I know the Chargers are a California team. They're going west to East Coast, but they are built like an East Coast team. They're physical. They run the football, and I think it's going to come down to these two running backs, Amari and Hampton, Travion Henderson. I know New England has Ramondre Stevenson as well, but Henderson has gotten more run here as the season goes on. Who's going to make that big play in the run game, and or who's going to make that big play in the passing game? Because when Drake May was coming out of North Carolina, his comp, interestingly enough, was Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I think both these guys have the ability, kind of like what I was saying about Brock Purdy. They both have the ability to make those plays off schedule. You don't see Drake May do it as frequently as Justin Herbert, but we have seen it, so he is capable. I think he's not quite as willing to leave the pocket as Justin Herbert, which I do think that could be an advantage for Justin Herbert, his ability to either step up in the pocket and make a throw, or his ability to scramble, escape the pocket, and pick up 10 or 15 yards on a run.
I also think there's a lot of pressure on Justin Herbert because of the fact that he is 0-2 in the playoffs and he lost the Jaguars and Texans and played pretty piss poor in both those games.
Yeah. I agree with you. And the reason I think New England can win this game, I think they're more balanced than the Chargers. I think sometimes the Chargers rely too heavily on the run, and they don't even it out with the passing game. From what
not this year. This year they're top 10 in passing attempts a game. They're not running the football. It's actually the opposite this year.
Okay, so I had that backwards, but still, I think they're to a certain extent unbalanced, which could be to New England's advantage.
I agree. I think this is going to be a low scoring game. I think it's 2017, even 17-14. It may come down to who has the ball last.
Yeah, which in that regard, I would trust Drake May a little bit more, even though this is his first playoff start. The fact that he's at home, I I really like Mike Vrabel as his head coach. Sure, Vrabel struggled in the playoffs with Tennessee, but remember, he did get them to the AFC Championship and nearly beat Kansas City. Um, he got him to the number one seed with Ryan Tannehill as his starting quarterback.
And then lost to that Joe Burrow Bengals team off a bye.
Yeah, that yes, you're 100% right. Um, but still, you gotta give credit to Mike Vrabel.
Oh, I like Vrabel. I also think he did get a little bit lucky because he went to Josh McDaniels, who will never be head coach again, and he can stay the Patriots OC for 10 years.
Yeah, he definitely did. Josh McDaniels should. You're 100% right. Josh McDaniels should never be a head coach. He completely failed in both Denver and Vegas. But, Drake May and McDaniels have been a very solid duo. I'd still like to see New England add another wide receiver. I know
Yes.
you got Stephon Diggs. I like Keyshawn Booty.
Well, again, I don't even know if Diggs is going to be on the team next year. I don't even know if he's going to play Sunday night. He's got legal trouble.
As far as I know, he's still going to be playing. I don't think. Same with Christian Barmore, who has his own legal issues for New England.
Yeah, something's going on there in New England.
Yeah, but I think with the Patriots, they've had these types of distractions before, and it's never really seemed to derail them. And I don't see it derailing them here. I think New England wins this game.
Well, the standard is the standard in Pittsburgh, as Mike Tomlin loves to say. But in my opinion, the standard ends here. I know Mike Tomlin's like 8-0 at home in Monday Night Football, some crazy stat like that. But I don't think the Steelers are going to be able to block that Texans defensive line. As much as I didn't want Aaron Rodgers going out on the bench and watching a game winning field goal kick, I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers leave while getting destroyed by Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson either. But I think this could be a long night for Pittsburgh, who their only shot for me to win this game is to get multiple turnovers on CJ Stroud and hope to return to DK Metcalf that he's able to make one big play down the field.
Yeah, credit to the Steelers for winning that game without DK. Aaron Rodgers put on a vintage performance, and they got lucky that Baltimore missed that game-winning field goal because they blew two huge passes from Lamar to Zay Flowers. Like on the
blown coverages.
Yes, that's what I said.
Yeah.
That second one, you saw the replay and you're like, is anybody gonna?
Well, no, you just heard Chris Collinsworth during the play say he's got him again.
Yeah. And you saw on the replay too, there was nobody within maybe 5 or 10 yards of Zay Flowers.
No, and I gotta say this about the Steelers: as much as we made fun of Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, Aaron Rodgers was not the problem this year. I actually thought Aaron has played very well this year. Their problem is outside of DK Metcalf, they don't have a threat that can beat you vertically down the field.
By the way, like I know Aaron, I know it was only 1 year, but I'm surprised the Jets kept Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, they didn't get an interception the whole year. They're a complete disaster. Which, by the way, I used to hate on Aaron Rodgers when he was with the Jets. I used to make fun out of him because he was going for vice president. He was smoking ayahuasca. I gotta say, focus Aaron. He's actually been fun to watch this year, and I never thought I'd say that.
Yeah, but I want to talk more about the Houston Texans because I think after the early part of the season, we kind of wrote them off.
Oh, I called them dead. And 0-3. I said, that's it. They're dead. Colts are 3-0, and Texans are 0-3. I said, that's it. And all of a sudden, Daniel Jones gets hurt, and the AFC South completely flips around.
Yeah. D'Amico Ryans, we were both saying, I think we both said at some point this season, he could be on the hot seat. I think we both said that, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Well, he's also got the best defense in the NFL, right up there with Philly, I would say.
Yeah. I'll say this. Houston, they are a sleeper team to get to the Super Bowl.
Oh, I think there's a world where it's Texans Jaguars in the AFC Championship.
You know what? I could see that happening. But does Houston have the defense to cover DK?
I believe they do. It's called Derek Stingley. I think he can shut DK out of the game. I really do.
That's going to be the matchup I'm most closely watching. DK against Derek Stingley. I think that is going to be must-see TV.
I think Pittsburgh could get blown out in this game. I'm not saying it's going to be high scoring. I think it could be like 20-3, 20-6. But I think the Texans' defensive line is going to be too much for Pittsburgh.
So let me ask you this. We know that Mike Tomlin theoretically saved his job by winning that game against Baltimore. But if he loses in blowout fashion, as you're predicting, does that put him back on the hot seat?
Well, Josh, the standard is the standard, and if my aunt had men parts, she would be my uncle.
Oh wait. My favorite post-game comments from Mike Tomlin after losing 13-6 against the Cleveland Browns. He goes, I didn't think we played poorly. We just didn't make the plays. I was laughing out loud when I heard that. I'm like, do you realize how stupid you sound?
Well, I don't think Mike really cares. But to be an honest question, I don't think the Steelers would fire Mike Tomlin. I think it's down to Tomlin's decision. I think Tomlin probably wants to come back. But if they lose this game, I think it all depends on Aaron Rodgers. I think if Aaron wants to come back, he'll be back. If he doesn't, I can see Tomlin transitioning and going to television. I don't think he'd get another job right away.
No, I don't think so. And for Tomlin, if he's going to be a team's head coach, I think Tomlin would run the show. It would not be the other way around.
Oh, I agree. And, maybe it is. Like, hey, John Harbaugh left Baltimore. Mike Tomlin leads Pittsburgh. It's time to change it up in that rivalry.
And by the way, like I said earlier, we were going to lead off with Steelers, Ravens.
Lived up to the hype. I didn't think the first game necessarily lived up to the hype. That second game, that was Ravens Steelers.
Yes, that proved that as soon as that game ended, I was like, and that's why Ravens Steelers is the best rivalry in the NFL. But I want to get back to the Texans because they didn't have Nico Collins on Sunday against the Colts, and yet C.J. Stroud was finding these two guys they drafted out of Iowa State. My one concern, though, are they going to be able to run the ball?
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to run the ball?
Yeah. No, you're right.
I don't know.
They got Marks, and I don't know if Chubb's healthy or not. He didn't play in week 18, but I think he's healthy. He was just a healthy scratch because they were trying to rush starters. We'll see.
That's my big question for both teams in this game. We saw Pittsburgh run it with Jaylen Warren, and that was effective for them.
And Gainwell's been their best player on offense.
Oh, yeah. That catch he made against Detroit was insane, by the way.
Yes, it was. If the Steelers are going to win this game, though, it's got to be like 17-14.
Yeah. I was honestly surprised the game against the Ravens was as high scoring.
Yeah, no, I agree.